both you and for the Lieutenant Governor, the opponents of further changes to bail reform have said up to this point, and will likely continue to say, that it will be an evil if it leads to additional minorities being incarcerated. Is your position that that will not happen, or that if it does happen, because police chiefs will often say that the calls for service are coming from minority communities, if it does happen, are there reasons that don't have to do with a broken system for that taking place, or do you think that is not going to happen?
I can't stand here and say that someone who has been accused of a serious crime or commits a crime over and over and over, especially the retail theft that is just so hard for our hard-hit businesses, that people, the stories are legendary and actually rather shocking. There will be consequences for people in those situations. I'm focused on intervening with our young people, making sure that the violence disruptors rescue them early, that they hear their stories. I literally sat down just a few weeks ago in Brooklyn and convened many of them and said, what do you need? How can we help you do your jobs? Because I want to stop this before it escalates. So there are opportunities for us to be smart, provide alternative programs, create jobs and opportunities. But yes, ultimately I need to protect the people in all communities, in communities of color and everywhere. People need protection, and we believe that these common sense changes, again, we're not undoing bail reform, we're just saying where are some of the weaknesses, what can be bolstered, what offenses would people think should be covered. We added 3 gun offenses to be considered to be bail eligible that were not. So we'll give you a chance to dissect and understand all the elements. They really have been written up until not too long ago, but did you have any comments on that, Lieutenant Governor?
Sure. I think from a philosophical standpoint, one of the things that is important in our approach has been, we understand that there are root causes, which is part of the question that you asked. There are root causes that are key to some of the issues that we're seeing: poverty, lack of job opportunities. There are mental health issues, education system. We can go on and on and on about some of the key fundamental factors that have caused some of the concerns in our communities. I mean, no child is born into someone who can cause certain things. Society and various activities get them there. So what we have tried to do is say, number one, we want to have accountability, particularly for crimes that are serious and can really harm people. But at the same time, and in my view, extremely importantly, which is very different from what I've seen in the past, we've said, let's invest in some of those root causes. Workforce development. We're putting significant money into trying to give children jobs, giving young people jobs, investing in mental health beds, as you're going to be hearing. We're trying to deal with some of the root core causes that we believe make a difference. You know, recidivism is a huge issue, so we're focusing and investing on that. And I think doing both, investing in root causes, dealing with some of the fundamental issues on the ground, while also dealing with some key accountability measures with a scalpel, right? Not with a sledgehammer. If you look at how we have addressed some of these key points, we've been very targeted. This is, and because we don't want to over-criminalize in any way, shape, or form people of color in particular. At the same time, we recognize that there are some root issues that we have to deal with, and we're focusing on that. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention, I'll just say this and I'll end. You know, we have been traveling all over the state, as the governor mentioned. I've been in Rochester, we've been in Buffalo, we've been in Syracuse, all over the city, and we're talking to some of the key people on the ground who are saying, yes, we need to be safe, and there's some key issues that need to be addressed, but you also have to invest in housing. You also have to invest in mental health. You also have to, and so we're looking to do both at the same time. And I think the Interstate Task Force on Illegal Guns is really one of those key places where let's not just deal with the situation when it happens on the ground. Let's try to stop the guns from getting there in the first place. So we're trying to be multi-layered and thoughtful and strategic in how we are addressing this problem. It's a serious problem, one that I know personally, and I thank the governor for her efforts on this.
A lot of the solutions you mentioned require a buy-in from the community, and on the individual level, are you getting that buy-in from the affected communities? Is the Black community engaging with the violence interrupters and with the job opportunities, or would you like to see more of that?
We'd like to see more of that, and that's what we're looking to do. That's why the governor has introduced an Office of Gun Violence Prevention that is going to be focused specifically on this effort. $224 million that is going to go towards investing in root causes, working with communities. I remember we were just in Rochester, and there were some snug groups and some church leaders who hadn't communicated in the way they should before. So we're helping to create collaboration, bringing people together, and providing resources and investments from the top down to say, listen, this is a problem we have to deal with together. We're not just going to have this law and order kind of way of addressing this. Accountability is important, but it is very important that we invest and we work together. So we're going to be doing this all over the state.
1 second, I'll address public safety as well, and thank you for the thoughtful response. And you've brought a lot of input from these meetings around the state, which have been helping drive our response. But also, just to be details released, and you'll be able to analyze it, but just let me help you understand some of the factors that we've changed here as part of our public safety strategy. We're going to be expanding the factors that judges consider when setting bail. The history of gun use, violating an order of protection, and whether or not they're charged with a serious harm. We're also going to be looking at the bail and arrest eligibility for repeat offenders and hate crimes, repeat offenses with harm to a person or property, repeat offenses for property theft with limited exceptions for crimes of poverty, close the desk appearance loophole, which exists right now, and make sure that all hate crimes are arrest eligible. Also, when, as I mentioned, I don't know if that was understood as well, but bail eligibility for gun offenses. There are new felony gun offenses that are bail eligible. That include sales to minors, defaced weapons, which are altered, whether it's scratching off the serial number or whether it's doing something to be able to hide it, or possession on school grounds. I mean, these are areas that had not been captured before under the current law. Also want to make it easier to prosecute gun trafficking, taking down what constitutes gun trafficking from 10 guns down to 3, or in cases of that's a C felony versus a B felony, and a number changes dramatically as well. So the prosecution or the possession of 3 or more of these guns will constitute a presumption of the intent to sell. We also had a problem with the discovery statute, and we were able to work out this situation by listening to the public defenders and listening to the district attorneys. And they came up with a thoughtful approach that we all had a lot of conversations about to make sure that we could fix it so hate crimes and domestic violence and other were not dismissed so easily, and cases were no longer going to be automatically dismissed if prosecutors fail to make a late disclosure, which is the case now. A lot of cases are being dismissed if they operate in good faith. And I mentioned also closing the raise the age loophole. You could have a case where someone is 16 or 17 and they are charged with an offense, but they don't end up in court until they're over 18. That's sort of limbo here, and the cases were dismissed. So there were areas which just needed some fixing, and as well as mentioning some of the other areas, but we're just making it harder to traffic in illegal guns. I want those guns off the streets. I want to stop this cycle of violence and stop the headlines that are talking about lives being destroyed, especially children, and these are primarily occurring in communities of color. That has to stop. We have to protect everyone.